You know, for a programming stream, or well, programming segment, there's actually been a lot less programming this week than I expected. A little bit of programming's been done. More to follow. But yeah, mostly I've been busy with other things this week. When it comes to game design. That's been fun and interesting. Anyway, yes. Hello everyone. Hopefully we are all doing fantastically well. I am Malcolm Bell. Happy Saturday to you all. And yes, today we are going to be having a look through the updates that I've been making towards the Gacha game project. Now, I'm no artist. I'm not an artist. Art is not... Okay, I've done little bits of art, but art is not the thing I'm doing here. This is programming, and this is game design. We have had several lessons over the course of this week, which has been wonderful. Where did we leave off last week? If memory serves, last week we basically managed to get as far as, well, first of all, confirming that the secure login system worked properly, which it does. And we also did a very basic throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks kind of combat system, which, you know what, it actually worked out fairly well. It gave us a little combat, it gave us something to work with, which was very nice. So yeah, since then, what I've been doing is I have been focusing on expanding this. I've been wanting to expand this, expand the game design, expand the features, expand the combat system into something a bit more interesting than just, you know, a conga line of death with two sides bashing each other with sticks until one side wins. Because that's, you know, that's is that a game? I mean, you could argue it's a game. You could. That possibility is there. But yeah, oh, that's, what did I just do there? Yes, let's not delete all that. Hello there, TVPG, good to see you. Unga Bunga game. Yes, it would indeed be an Unga Bunga game. And that's not necessarily the kind of game that I want to be going for. I want something a little bit more complicated than that, just a little bit. So I've been making steps toward that over the course of this week, and I have quite a story to share, actually, when it comes to this. But yes, so what programming progress have I made? Well, I have said already, not very much programming progress this week, but that's probably for the best, all things considered. The last thing I would want to do is spend something like 10 hours implementing a whole gacha combat system, and then for it all to turn out terrible. So, yeah, no, on Monday, I had an idea. I had a little idea. Well, first of all, we're jumping ahead of ourselves. I had a little idea for being a bit more creative and productive with it. But what I started with last week, after the Revelation stream, or last week's patch notes, I started thinking about how to actually go about defining the game entities. Hello there, Sid. Good to see you. Good day to you. Hopefully you enjoyed your shopping yesterday. No doubt you did. Yeah, good to see you. Good to have you here. Right. But yeah, I was thinking about the characters. And yeah, I played around a little bit with the idea of making them immediately, just making them objects. But I don't think I really need to at this point. Like, I don't need to make them objects. Like these are the objects from last week where I had entities, they had name, HP, attack, initiative, and all that. I don't think I need all that. That's not the most essential thing. So what instead I've looked at doing for now is compacting them down just into being a dictionary. I've got a function that can just create a dictionary with all the values that I want. You can have the name, whatever its code is. Remember, we had some codes that are used to refer to the gacha roles before they are named properly, and also just convenient for that as well. But yeah, it's got all the stats that are going to be stored inside. Still not final, but we've got a place to start with them now. We've got a little bit of a place to start with them. Functions just to define every step of the process until... Yeah, why use objects in an object-oriented programming language? Well, as it happens, Sid, I can tell you're not very familiar with Python. Let's look at me being all chuffed with myself. No, in Python, everything is an object. Literally everything in Python is an object. So technically, even the dictionary objects that I am using are already objects and can be interacted with as objects. But yeah, I don't want to go creating like defined objects until we get to the stage where it's an actual game entity. Like, I want it just to be stored away somewhere as like an accessible dictionary or something that can then be drawn from when an actual combat is going to be happening inside the game. I'm gonna kind of keep things a little bit more object-light. Plus it saves, you know, footering around too much. It's nice and easy. It's nice and easy and workable. And a bit less head scratching, which is nice. A little bit less fussing around with objects. But anyway, we've got that all set up just now. That's just more template stuff. That's going to be very similar to what we've got going on with the server side stuff just now. The way that we've got the lists of all the gacha pools. They are literally just lists. They're just arrays in Python that just contain all of the details. But yeah, so we're keeping things nice and simple relatively there. That's basically as far as the programming's gone so far, which is not too bad. We've got the foundation of a gacha game sorted out here. Maybe not perfectly, but we've got enough of a skeleton to build on top of that I can start really focusing on the game's design itself rather than the foundational code that's going to make it all work. I am still going to have to think about, you know, properly implementing how the combat system and what have you is actually going to be written. I still need to do that. But yeah, we've got a little bit of ways to go there. I want to have the game designed before we do. Araxis! Thank you for the subscription. 2 years worth of subscriptions. Araxis, you generous fiend. I will exchange 1,732 Malbucks for 10 roll pulls. As soon as this game gets to a stage where 10 rolls are possible, you can just have an active 10 roll for... Yeah, you can just have a free 10 roll for every single version of the game that requires 10 rolls to happen during testing and beyond. Okay, I'm not charging for these 10 rolls. What the hell am I talking about? Hello there, Kuro. Good to see you as well. Good to see ya. So yes, we've actually got the foundations of a rolls system in place. This is good. This is a very good thing. Redeem save. Oh, we are well saved up, Ara. I've not touched this code for nearly a week now. Like, I think Sunday before my brother came to visit. I think that was the latest coding I'd done. Hello, Kuro. Yes, I'm doing not too bad, Kuro. Thank you for asking. I've had quite a nice week actually. A couple of chill days, a couple of busy days. Been a little bit rocky in some places, but you know what? I'm feeling okay. Grand scheme of things, I'm feeling okay. So thank you for asking. I do appreciate it. But yeah, no. So we've got this. We've got the foundations down. Now we're coming to think about the actual game's design itself. So, is this the right one? There we go. Okay, so I have been learning and I have a lot to share with you. Okay, apologies for the brightness. You may want to do something about the... Wait, can I do something about the brightness? I think, yeah, I can. I'll put a... Wait, can I do a filter? I think I can do a filter. There's a way to do it. Flashbang out! Yeah, it's painful. Right, okay, hold on. There we are. How's that? Is that any better? It's like 50% brightness now. Is that a little better? There we go. Okay, we'll go for that. It's a bit dimmer for you. Right, oh, I'll also preemptively... Wait, do I need to preemptively do that on the other? No, it's all on this file, that's fine. Still not dark mode. I mean, that's true. Wait, could I invert the colors? Hold on. Can I invert the colors? Also, hello, Valana. Hello, Valana. Good to see you. Let's see if I... Oh, dear. That's horrifying, that is. What the hell? Right, hold on. Yeah, maybe not invert. You know what? We'll roll with this. We'll just leave it here. Let's not worry about it too much. You can change cell and text colors. I mean, I can. Right, it's fine. You know what? We'll just leave it like this. This is fine. This is fine, folks. We're fine here. Okay, we're fine. We'll deal with it. You can tell how prepared I was. I thought I'd have more time to prepare, but no, the technical issues exist on my side. Anyway, I have been learning. I have been learning a lot. Because, yeah, after last week, I thought to myself, right, okay, I very clearly am lacking some useful information when it comes to game design. How do I go about designing a game? How do I go about making all of these cards, all of these gacha rolls that I'm going to be doing? So, of course, I looked at one of the games that I'm most familiar with, Magic the Gathering. I don't play it like regularly. I've been tempted to get back into it a little bit, kind of casually, but not quite committed to it yet. But I was having a look at that, and I thought, right, let's use this as a little bit of a template. I can use this for, at the very least, some inspiration. So I decided to roll with that. The mad scientist is learning. Run for your lives. Indeed, yes, you should be concerned. You should be concerned. But yeah, so yeah, had a little look at this, and I thought two things that I really like doing. I like thinking about card systems. I like cards. I like gacha. I mean, I wouldn't be making a gacha game if I didn't think it was really interesting. So of course, but I like cards. I like playing cards, collecting cards. Not like, you know, I've got a compulsion for it. I just like them, you know. I just like opening packs of cards. They're fun. You saw me opening those Magic cards last year. You may have. God, that was an 8-hour stream. So yeah, had a little look at that, and I thought, right, let's use this as a template. Let's use this as a bit of a template. We can use this as a starting spot. So number one, I went online and I found a lot of like design reference documents for some of the lead designers from Magic the Gathering, and the way that they went around building and designing sets, because that is effectively what I'm doing. I'm creating a large gacha pool, which is quite similar, or I expect to be similar to the way that yeah, a Magic the Gathering set would be put together. So yeah, where do we even start with that? Where do you start? Number one, first thing that I wanted to figure out was, okay, this all of these pages, I've got multiple pages of notes and work here. I've gone through multiple steps over the course of this. It's been an interesting week for Malcolm Bell, so it has. Over here, yeah, rarities, the way that the rarities get split out. Basically, I wanted to model this on what used to be called a small set, like an expansion set in Magic the Gathering. They've not done these for ages, but they were like half the size of a full-size set, like the ones they bring out these days. Usually somewhere in the region of like 150 cards, and I thought, right, this is a relatively reasonable size. Let's use this as an initial template just to get the ball rolling, figure out the game's mechanics, figure out how the gacha system's going to work, the combat system's going to work, and then I can build from there. This is a nice template, a nice foundation to start on. So it was going to be a total of 60 common drops, the most like 1-star rolls or what have you. Then we're going to have 30 uncommon drops, maybe 31, probably 30 uncommon drops, so slightly rarer. Then it's going to be 35 of the rare drops, so like 3 stars or whatever, and then we'll have like 10 mythic drops, so they'll be like the 4-star or SSR equivalent kind of thing. That's roughly the distribution of things that I'm going to be looking at to begin with. I'm also going to be using the way to kind of categorize things. We're going to be going for not necessarily a hard and fast hard and fast elemental system. But we are going to be using something of an elemental system. I don't know if there's going to be like elemental type advantages or what have you. So rare is more common than uncommon. No, there are only 35 rares. But the thing is, like, the rates at which the rares are produced is a lot lower. So there are more, like, there are more rare cards than uncommon cards, but they appear in a gacha roll a lot less frequently. So there's more variety, but they appear less frequently, is what we're going for. The exact distribution I'm thinking is going to be, or okay, maybe not exact, but I'm thinking there's going to be a, what was it again? It was about a 7 in 10 chance, or 70% chance of a given card being common, a 20% chance of a card in a roll being uncommon, and then a 10% chance of it being either rare or mythic. And it's a roughly 1 in 7 rares will become a mythic. And of course, in every single 10 roll that you do, you get a guaranteed rare or mythic kind of thing. That's kind of the way that a gacha roll, a 10 roll, would be laid out, roughly. Not entirely set in stone just now, but that is that's what I had programmed way back here. Where is that line? Here we go. Yeah. So there is a. Where are they gone? Oh yeah, the pools. Yeah. So 42 plus 20 is 70%. 2 uncommons, which is 20%, and then a 10% chance for rares. That's how we're going to be doing this. So yeah, rares will be, there'll be more of the rares, just so there's more variety at the rare level, rather than so that there are, like, you know, you're getting more rares. Anyway, back to this. So that's going to be roughly how they're laid out. They're also going to be coming in at different rarities. These are not like rarities within the commons, uncommons. This isn't exactly set in stone, but it's something that I'm going to be playing with in the meanwhile. There's possibility of some commons appearing more frequently than other commons, some uncommons appearing more frequently, some rares appearing more frequently, that kind of thing. But that's not really a massive, I'm not massively investing a lot of time or thought into that right now, but it's something that I'm going to be thinking about moving forward. Right, so yeah, as I was saying, before we went off on that little tangent, yeah, we're going to be having a bit of an elemental system, and I've had in the back of my mind for a while now something that I kind of really enjoy thinking about when it comes to games is as an elemental system. I do like the kind of like Chinese elemental system, the traditional Chinese system of what's it, fire, water, earth, metal, and wood, and then also the addition of, like, you know, dark and light, yin yang, what have you. So I think I'm going to use this as kind of the template for the elemental system in this game. As I said, there should be a card called a little tangent. We'll see about that. We'll see about that. That sounds very appropriate for me. So yeah, there's gonna be basically 5 main elements. That is earth, wood, metal, fire, water, and then there's also going to be light and dark cards as well. The light and dark cards are going to be like much rarer. They're going to be included among the rare cards, generally speaking. Or like even within the common cards, they will be the hardest cards to find. So yeah, looking then. So yeah, that's going to be the elemental system, and that is also informing what codes I use to refer to the cards while we're in playtesting and, you know, for just tracking the progress of them. So the code works out as being C for common, E for earth element, and then a number 0, 1 up to 10. And that's the same for all of them. The number can go up to 100 max, but we're not building sets that big, so we don't need to worry about those. I'm just ripping this entirely out of the Magic the Gathering design notes, or design process. And then I'm thinking a little bit about, like, the way that the skeleton itself is built. So this is another tool that I've basically lifted practically wholesale from Magic the Gathering. The idea of a design skeleton. So this is literally just a tool that you use to kind of prepare your expectations for what is going to be required over the course of your set, kind of thing. So we're going for a 60 card set of commons. There's 60 cards there, and say for the sake of argument here, I want half of the total number of gacha roll results to be characters. I want these to be characters that you can actually put in your party and play with, half of them. So out of the 145 roles that would be possible, about 72, 73 of them will be characters. So yeah, if there's 60 possible roles in the commons, I want half of those to be characters. So that means that on average, every element should be having 6 characters. But we don't want them all necessarily to have 6 characters. So then it's just a simple matter of thinking, right, let's have Earth having 7 characters, Wood can have 7 characters as well, Metal, let's only have 6, that can work as our average. Fire can have 5, and then we'll have the least in water, they can only have 4. And you know what, let's throw in a character for each of light and dark as well. So yeah, that gives me slightly more than 30 down here. I think it gives me 32. But yeah, it just gives me something to play around with. So I've got some characters there, and I was thinking, right, what other results might people want out of the gacha? What other rewards might be worth having? So I thought, I don't know, let's go for weapons, armor, trinkets, so they can have little buffs on the character. I say little buffs, we'll demonstrate in a little moment that the buffs weren't quite so little. But yeah, then thinking about the size of the creatures as well, of the characters as well. So we've got a bunch of small ones, so relatively low stats, medium for like mid-range stats, and then large for like really big stats. And this is where the problems really started appearing, where I started finding that there was a limit to how far I could lean on Magic the Gathering for inspiration. Like, it's very, very valuable. There's a lot of very valuable advice in here, and it's definitely applicable to a lot of different games. So this design is intended to support the Magic gameplay system. Is that going to be the style of your game? No, it's not. It was never really intended to be like that. But this is where I basically went off on a tangent. I was like, right, I can just play around with Magic the Gathering, see if Magic the Gathering works, or like I can use it kind of as a stepping stone. Was my idea. I can just go, right, let's see if these ideas can be ported across. And I did end up finding very quickly where the game broke down, where Magic is designed for a completely different kind of game from a gacha game. It might work if I was making like a digital card game. Like this like, I mean, Magic does work as a digital card game. But I'm not making a digital card game. I'm wanting to make a like party-based RPG style of game, which is completely different. But I'll ask you to humor me and bear with me as I go through the steps of learning where these issues are and how they lead to a lot of unbalance in the game that I was trying to make. Also, thank you for the stretch redeem, Kuro. It's appreciated. Yeah, that's good. Oh, good crack in my breastbone there. Very nice. Right, so yeah, continuing down this Magic rabbit hole, which I promise we'll get to the bottom of eventually, I then started allocating out skills, or thinking what keywords certain colours in Magic the Gathering would be appropriate for certain elements in my system. And we very, very quickly started discovering where the problems came from. There are some major differences. Some of these can actually port one-to-one over with Magic the Gathering. The elements are fairly closely aligned. Like the earth ones, you could probably port over to being like white in Magic the Gathering. That's like plains, energy, and what have you. You can see those kind of related. We've got wood, which is forests. We've got metal, which is, okay, very standout, but could argue it could be like artifacts in Magic the Gathering. But it does draw a little bit from black as well. We've got fire, which is obviously just going to be red, and we've got water, which is just going to be blue. So I thought, right, this is relatively simple. We can just, 4 out of the 5 of them are more or less like 1-to-1 Magic the Gathering. We just have to change up what happens with metal. So let's take a couple of abilities from white, and then a couple of abilities potentially from, it was mostly white in the end, wasn't it? And maybe like 1 or 2 from black. And we'll see how that goes. I gave them attack, and I gave them an attack roughly based on the magic system as well. So we've got weak ones here with an attack of 1, stronger creatures or characters with an attack of 5. Basically, times that by 4 to get an HP value. Went through a couple of different ways of thinking about initiative. I started out with initiative being roughly proportional with attack. And then I realized that just meant that bigger creatures were attacking faster, and didn't necessarily want that. That was problematic. So I started going for, okay, smaller creatures are more, or smaller characters are more nimble. I keep calling them creatures. You can see how badly the Magic the Gathering influence has hit me when I keep calling my gacha characters creatures. And honestly, even the work in progress names are very Magic the Gathering. Avian Scout. Skyward Sword is just a Zelda reference. Forgewood Bow, Adept Squire, Novice Pyromancer. I even put in a little joke here with Prodigal Pyromaniac. That was fun. That was fun. But yeah, Magic the Gathering really seeped into my brain at this point. I had magic brain rot, and it's been problematic. But I recognize it's been problematic. But yeah, this was very interesting. This was a good place to start, I think. I even started including like what weapons could do. They give like an increase to your attack. They give you an increase to your HP. They let you like steal health from your enemies or whatever. This turned out to be really powerful. And I can demonstrate how powerful it is actually. We're going to be going over to Tabletop Simulator. Where, yeah, some people have already seen me mucking around in here over the course of the last week. I've been busy, actually. Right, where is the Gacha collection? Right, I think it's this one, isn't it? Right, here we go. What I did, I used Tabletop Simulator to turn my design skeleton into a set of cards with all of the lists. They've got what character they are, they've got their names, they've got their attack value, HP, initiative, and any abilities that they've got, and like some rules relating to them as well. Like I came up with some dumb names as well. The You Mad Blade gives you +1 attack, and then anything that takes combat damage from a character equipped with this weapon get -1 attack until the end of their next turn. I quite enjoyed that. Yeah, I really stopped giving a crap when it came to naming. When it came to naming the blue equipment, I just stopped giving a crap. It was brilliant. But yeah, so I've actually ended up coming up with the 60 cards here. Need to have art for everything now. Yeah, art is going to be an interesting thing. But yeah, so this was quite useful. This was quite useful for being able to see and to be able to interact with the gacha results themselves. But I didn't just lay them all out like this. I also have it saved up. Where is... That's not it. I think this is it not? Yes, there we go. So I've actually got a full 120 card pool that the gacha would draw from. I've implemented that as well. What I basically did is I assigned each one of these cards a number from 1 to 3, and that number would represent how many times they would appear in this deck, and it would always come up to 120. So what I can do with this is I can not exactly simulate, but I can like slightly simulate what it would be like if you were to do a 10 roll, for example. Art can get damn expensive, gonna do pixel art for everything. Listen, I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm not even thinking about the artwork right now. This is just for the exercise of being able to make a game. There'll be placeholder art of some kind until, and unless and until this gets to a stage where for some reason someone wants this to actually become a real thing, which I doubt is going to happen. I'm just doing this for the learning experience more than anything else. And, you know, I've been saying for years, I've been wanting to make games for years. So this is just me just continuing to enjoy my game making instinct, or like my drive, this passion for wanting to make a game. This is just a continuation of that. I don't care about where this goes. If this goes somewhere fun where I'm getting art to make this, it's gonna happen. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, now don't worry about the derailing, Sid. I appreciate any time to talk about my passion or the reasons why I want to do things. You know, that's just a normal thing. Anyway, so what I can do, I can simulate a 10 roll. It's not an exact one-to-one simulation because unfortunately with these decks, you can't just copy a single card from it. You have to draw a card from it, which reduces the total size of the pool. And that's not how the gacha system would be working. At least I don't intend that to be it. So it's not a one-to-one example, but it does give an idea. Like removing 10 cards from this is like, what's that? Like an 8.3% reduction in the number of cards in here. It is a reduction in the odds of getting a certain card, but it's a fairly reasonable approximation. So yeah, that was quite fun. What I did, I would just go here and I would go draw, and draw. Oh, except it didn't shuffle them. Yeah, we kind of need them to be shuffled. Why am I not? There we go. Right, let me just group these all back up together. Gain. Group. Thank you. Right, shuffle. Need to shuffle a couple of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is just assuming that we've got a 10 roll with the common rewards. There's a reason why you want to focus on the commons first. Firstly, there's more of them, so people are more likely to come across them. And by focusing on the commons, you can make sure that your fundamental game mechanics work properly before getting into some really complicated stuff, more complicated rules and characters and game mechanics. You just make sure that the basics work. If it's fun and it makes sense at the common level, then you can just build on that for the higher difficulty, the higher rarity, the higher complexity creatures and mechanics in future. So you want to make sure that it broadly works at the common level. Also for gacha games in particular, so maybe players get a starter set, potentially. Maybe, like, I'm not saying that I'll make the commons first and then people will be able to roll all the commons, but it might be that I'll make a work in progress version where people can actually play around with just the common cards and see what they think about that. But that's, we'll get there. That's kind of what I'm working on here. But yeah, specifically for gacha as well, having only the commons means I can really start focusing and thinking about, okay, you've got a lot of really, really common rolls. What are people going to do with their duplicates? And now I have to think about that. Now I have to start thinking about, okay, what happens if... Yeah, this is good, because I've actually got 2 Novice Stormcaller cards in this roll already. So it's just a perfect example. There's 2 Novice Stormcallers. So what do you do with the duplicate? What would you do with them? Do you like convert them into like XP to level up your character? How do duplicates work? So yeah, this is something that I still really need to think about, but it's an option. You can either burn them up to power up the other cards. Yep, that's an option. But yes. So yeah, we can simulate a 10 roll, and I'm not gonna like act out a full idea of this, but what I have done as well is I have like done 2 10 rolls, and then I've like tried to assemble what a party would look like. So having a little look down here, for example, we've got Elven Sharpshooter's pretty good. They're a pretty good card, so I probably have them on my attack. I've got a Prodigal Pyromancer who's really solid. He's got attack 3, HP 12, and probably the Clockwork Sentry. Yeah, nobody else is really quite as high as that, so we'll probably go for the Clockwork Sentry. Then you need to think about equipment. We've got a Brilliant Aegis, which is basically just like a shield, which is a really, really good bit of gear. That's actually the light element. So that's very fun. The idea at this point was I would be using like 3 characters. They'd appear on the field to begin with. You would have them equipped, and then they would do battle against each other, kind of thing. It does depend on the mechanics of gameplay as well. Yes, exactly. So yeah, then we've got a couple more trinkets. We've got a Raider's Dagger, which increases attack and gives haste, which is basically just you can move and use your abilities on turn 1. I'm thinking also about having like an energy system too. Like it takes energy, you have to be on the field a certain number of turns or time or whatever before you can actually use your special attacks or what have you. But now that I've got these here, I can start, you know, because I physically, okay, not physically, I digitally have the cards here and can play around with them. It gives me a little bit of an idea of what it will be like if I was actually to play the game rather than just the silly ideas going on in my head. And let's see, we've got Poisoner's Bandolier, which I like. Gives HP and Death Touch, which I imagined would immediately kill something that was at 50% HP or less. I don't know if that's going to be an actual thing, but you can tell immediately how unbalanced that would be. And we've got the Vellum of Maybe Not, which is another one of those I can't be arsed coming up with a clever name for this. Counter-active ability that targets the equipped character. Just a way to evade abilities, which would be any particular active abilities. A bunch of them are just noted as passive. That's passive, that's passive. There are some active abilities kicking about somewhere, but they're not here. Anyway, I would like simulate little fights against, like, from one side to the other, and I'd be like, right, this game is broken as all living hell. Because what I quite often find is that giving plus 8 HP is a humongous HP bonus. Like, it's proportional to a Magic the Gathering HP bonus that you would get for, like, equipping armor or putting an enchantment on or something like that. But, yeah, in this game, the way that this game's set out, it's completely unbalanced because it doesn't cost you resources to put it in place, necessarily. Like, it only costs you in the gacha. So then I was thinking, okay, well, what happens if I have 2 people who've done a lot of gacha rolls and then they've assembled their party? Then it just started leaning towards them using the very biggest of characters that they would inevitably roll. So we'd have like Winged Champions, we'd have Knight Errants, we'd have Mystic Adepts. Charging Beast Folk was a beast, literally. So yeah, things very quickly broke down. So I thought, screw it, back to the drawing board. So yeah, so I got rid of all these, basically. But I learned a lot doing it. And the learning was a very important experience. This is the trick. You want to get something testable. You want to get something that can just be crap. And it's okay for it to be bad, because you can learn from it. So I just made a list. I made a list of all the issues that I had. It was an A4 page long of all the issues that I had, not just with like the mechanics in general, but specific cards, specific issues that I hadn't been able to iron out, contradictions between some mechanics and how I was implementing them here compared to Magic the Gathering. And those are still issues that still need to be resolved. But I had the list there and I could start thinking, right, Magic the Gathering does not work as a party-built battler game. It just doesn't work. But that was something important to learn. But it was still very valuable to be using Magic the Gathering as a starting place. Now, watch your eyes. We're going back to Excel. So, we had this. Very good, very useful, very interesting. Learned a lot from it. But we're getting rid of it now. We're not going for this. Then I started thinking, okay, what is the real issue? The real problem that I've got here? And I started thinking, okay, it's the two stats that we really care about when it comes to all the characters. Building a balanced game isn't simple. There's a reason professional systems go through so much testing. Exactly. So yeah, the real issue, the primary issue is the core mechanic, which is doing damage to your opponent and reducing their HP. So the relationship between a character's attack and the character's defense. And the simplest way to explore this, I figured, would be literally just set up a list here. We just set up a list of all the possible HP values, all the possible attack values, and then what we do is we figure out how many hits it'll take for a character with this level of attack to hit this amount of HP. How many hits does it take to kill? And that gets you some very, very nice interactions here. You see there's like a line moving diagonally down here. Believe it or not, this is diagonal. Just because these are longer than they are tall. Diagonal line right there, 1 to 1. And then we've got the relationship of 1 to 2, which is a lot more diagonal here. 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1 to 6, 1 to 7. And it started giving me a little bit of an idea of the kind of interaction between the two of them. The way that these two interact with each other. And it felt like something was really missing. It felt too much like there were very limited number of options between an attack value and an HP value. And just like limiting myself to this diagonal was just problematic. So yeah, more thought needed to go into it. I went over to Skeleton 2 and started thinking, okay, can I just, like, not thinking about the keywords here right now. I was just like, right, let's not worry about the keywords. Obviously that's not working. Let's come back and think about it later. So I started thinking, okay, can we have like a new attack level and a new HP level? And can we introduce some defense? And what do these look like? How do I get these to behave? Kind of thing. So I started thinking, okay, let's just wang up the total amount of attack. If the attack starts at a higher value, there's going to be less variance in attack. So suddenly you don't have one character that's literally 3 times stronger than another character at the same level. Like we've got this one here. This was a winged champion. Is literally 3 times stronger than a novice adventurer. Like, depending on the system, Magic the Gathering, it might make sense for them to do that. This system, if you get, okay, you imagine you're playing the Gacha game. Imagine you do a single roll, you get yourself a novice adventurer. Your friend does a single Gacha roll, they get a winged champion. You put them into your party or whatever, they attack each other immediately, and your novice adventurer gets immediately one-shot by a winged champion. There's so much of a balance issue going on here. That just sucks. Whereas, just multiplying the attack by 4, adding 36, so it's basically 40 times higher, roughly, not quite, but roughly. Going by the same thing, we go 40, 44, 48, much better than 1, 2, 3. Suddenly, the winged champion is definitely significantly stronger than the novice adventurer, but it's not quite so dramatic. We go from 40 attack to 48 attack, and we go from 4 HP and 12 HP to 114, 137. There's still a definite advantage to having the winged champion, but suddenly it's not quite as dramatic. It means that lower cards have a potential to be potentially viable. They're on the same kind of playing field now, rather than just being, you know, so many times overclassed by something that should be just as common. So this is where we're starting to move in towards the right direction, or what I felt was beginning to go the right direction. And then adding defense as well. Now at this point I hadn't exactly figured out exactly what relationship I wanted attack and defense to have with each other. But we were starting really moving in that direction. I started thinking, okay, we've got the attack level. What happens if we just have the base defense level being directly related to the attack level? Let's just keep things nice and simple. Let's just like throw up a new defense number. Let's try and figure out exactly what this is going to be. So yeah, then I thought, okay, let's have a little look at another gacha game. So I downloaded a couple of gacha games. I played through a little bit of them. Had a look at the characters. Is there some kind of play and expense to deploying a stronger versus weaker card? That hasn't necessarily been built in just yet. I'm going to get a little bit more towards my thoughts regarding that later. This is still something that I'm going to be working on about, but we will talk about that. Good question though, Sid. We will answer it. So I thought, okay, let's have a look at some gacha games and let's get some ideas. So I got my hands on a couple. I think it was it Alchemy Stars? I think was one of the games I came across. Also downloaded Genshin for the first time. Didn't actually play it, but I've got Genshin now. A couple of other gacha games I've had a look at too. Had a little look at their stat systems, and I started noticing there was some relationships between the attack, defense, HP values. Strangely enough, all surprisingly consistent. Oh, this sacrifices game dev requires. Indeed, indeed. It's almost like you need to know how games are designed in order to be able to design a game or something. So yeah, I just went and played gacha games for like, I don't know, several hours, like most of an evening. It was great. Actually, half of it was spent staring at the spreadsheet rather than playing the game itself. What was I having more fun doing? So yeah, the way that I saw it, I saw a very, very interesting relationship. It's that the defense value was roughly 35% of the attack value. And in turn, the attack value was 35% of the HP value. So I thought, okay, that's really interesting. Let's implement that here. That's how I got these values. And these start looking and feeling quite a bit better. Now, at this point, I haven't gone into it, but I've done, we'll come to it later. I've actually done simulations of how these fights would end up going. I've got them all in a spreadsheet and everything. It's glorious. But we'll come to that in a little moment. So yeah, we're starting moving in the right direction. This is a solid idea. Still keeping the same placeholder names for the different characters, because, you know, at this point, I don't need to come up with completely different names, even if the keywords don't matter right now. These are just placeholder names, just something to work with, and, you know, it saves me going through and editing all of those files in Tabletop Simulator. So let's just keep them for now. So yeah, that was a good breakthrough right there. A little bit of research gave me a lot of information. So then I started thinking about the power curve scaling. Like, okay, so in that one game, the relationship was roughly 35%. So defense being 35% of attack, attack being 35% of defense. Let's actually have a little look at this. Let's play around with this idea of the relationships between attack, defense, and HP. Let's keep this same relationship, but let's play around with the settings of this function. So what I simply did, I just scaled the level up, started attack, defense, HP. Let's say, okay, let's just have defense be the base one. Let's have attack be the base one. So let's start with attack, and we'll say defense is related to it in this way, and HP is related in this way, with a constant as well. And I started thinking about this. I started playing around. This is me, bit of a maths nerd. I started throwing some of my favourite constants in there. We threw in Euler's number, we threw in pi, square root of 10, phi, square root of 2. Some good irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are fun. So yeah, we threw in some irrational numbers, started playing around with it. I made one version where attack was the foundation. I made one where defense was the foundation. They're functionally identical. it just changes what you set as the attack delta, so the amount that attack increases by every level, and the scaling factor. Well, the scaling factors, yeah, it changes the scaling factor and attack delta, most of the attack. But they're functionally the same relationship. Then we went over here, and I started making, well, rather, I made a calculator that I was quite happy with. So yeah, well, actually, no, what I did was I kind of figured out over here using this calculator tool that I found some settings that I quite like the feel of, and then I moved over to here. So what I've got is, we've got a new system down for the mechanics, and this feels fairly mature at this point, I have to say. I feel like this has become fairly mature. So what I did was I started thinking about a couple of limitations that I wanted on the stat system, or a couple of limitations on how I wanted particular things to go. So I started with a base level. I wanted a baseline. I thought to myself, okay, I want the characters to be able to level from level 1 to level 20, say. Like, doesn't need to be 20, could be any number, could be 40, 50, 100, I don't care. Let's just have 20 for now, and we'll see what happens. And I thought, okay, over the scale of leveling from 1 to 20, I want a character's stats to have increased by roughly 50%. So attack should increase from either like 100 to 150, 109 to 160, sounds good to me. And then keeping the same relationship between attack and defense as HP and attack. So everything just increases proportional to each other. And I really kind of settled quite comfortably on Euler's number as being a nice number to have the increase by. Not necessarily for any particular reason, I just found that the rate at which the abilities kind of scaled with each other just felt a lot better being roughly 2.7 than it did it being pi, or the square root of 10, or phi, that's the golden ratio, or the square root of 2. I found that having defense and attack being too close together meant the amount of damage you did was like really, really low. Like, you did such a low amount of damage, it just did not become interesting. You just have to have like HP be a completely separate stat. Plus, too many characters would end up having a defense value higher than the vast majority of characters had damage, and then I thought, well, then I have to come up with a really complicated damage calculation, and I didn't want to deal with that. I just didn't want to deal with that. I wanted to make it so that most characters could receive some amount of damage from most enemies. That was kind of important, even if it was a small amount. So E just ended up working as a nice number, keeping that relationship. And I thought, right, here's the base level. Then I started thinking, okay, let's think about some other stuff. This is going to be a game that is based around an adventuring guild, and something that I haven't touched on before, but another design principle that I like, and one of the reasons that I find the Chinese element system so interesting, is that there's a kind of an interplay between humanity and the way that we shape the world around us, and then also with like nature, the natural state, and the way things just naturally form, kind of thing. So I like that kind of like that tension between the natural and the human, like the rural, the urban, or even the rural versus the wild kind of thing. I want that to be a little bit of an element in this game as well. Kind of like more along the storyline rather than... Okay, well, it will be expressed through the mechanics, but it'll also be through the story and the setting and the themes. We'll kind of explore these kind of fields. So I started thinking, okay, we're looking at guild, basically. We're looking at an adventuring guild, and there's a fantastic video about adventuring guilds that was made by the Grungeon Master on YouTube. Highly recommend the channel. I've recommended him before. But it was like, yeah, why do JRPG Adventurers Guild go off of like precious metals, or why did he use like a letter ranking system from like D to S or whatever? Why don't they use the actual guild system, which was you've got your novice guild member, you've got your journeyman who's learned enough to, you know, go on a journey and ply their trade wherever they want. And then the master of the guild, who would like maybe be like on the board of directors for the guild or what have you. Anyway, then expanded that to add a couple more tier levels, basically stealing from the Elder Scrolls, having an apprentice between novice and journeyman, expert between journeyman and master, unskilled for someone who's like got absolutely no experience doing something at all, and then the base level, which is just like, yeah, you literally couldn't do any worse if you tried. Then all I did was take the base values for attack, defense, and HP, and then multiply that by your tier ranking. So if you're base level, it only multiplies by 1. If you're E-ranked or unskilled, you get an 8.3% bonus, basically a 1/12 increase, 2/12, 3/12, 4/12, 5/12, 6/12, where you get a master rank at having a 1.5% increase. Again, this 50% increase between stats is very useful little step to be taking. Like, limiting the total range of stats is kind of helpful. So yeah, over the course of a 1 to 20 for your character, your stats increase by 50%. But if you compare a level 20 who has attack tier F with a level 20 who has an attack tier S, they've also increased by 50%. So a fairly bounded system, yeah. I still want everything to be able to interact with and interrelate with everything else on roughly the same scale. Also note the highest possible defense in this system right now is 89, which is lower than the lowest possible attack, which is 109. So no matter what character you have, you'll always be able to do at minimum 20 damage to your opponent, which, okay, it's not great. It means that you've got to hit, say you've got an F ranking attack, your opponent has an S ranking defense, and you've got and they've got a HP value of 296, which is the F ranked HP. 60, yeah, so that's going to be what, 49 damage being done. That'll still take you something like 6 hits, 7 hits to be able to kill someone or defeat someone with a defense that high. So yeah, but it still means that everyone can play. Is defense a flat reduction to attack or a proportional reduction? It's a flat reduction. The equation's going to be just the amount of damage you do is the amount of attack you have minus your opponent's defense, subtracted from the opponent's HP. So a relatively simple RPG system right here. It's not too complicated. It just means that defense is just scaled differently from attack, more or less. So yeah, this is basically what we've got from here. And then I was thinking about the rarities as well. The vast majority of the time, most common rarity characters will have their stats, their attack, defense, HP, be from ranks C, D, and E. Well, this is before I really started thinking about F tier. They also take F tier. Uncommons would be B, C, and D. Rares would be A, B, and C. Mythics would be S, A, and B. Basic proportional, with Master being S, Expert being A, Journeyman B, Apprentice C, Novice D, Unskilled E, Base F. And then I started thinking, let's do some combat testing. So I basically came up with a list of what I thought each character would have stat-wise, which I've already created over here in Design Skeleton 2. Gave them their stats, and I thought, wait, actually, am I jumping ahead of myself? I am slightly jumping ahead of myself. I gave stats to every single one, kept them with the original name. We've got the rank values here, numerical values here. They're not an equation. I've literally just copied the details over. I couldn't figure out how to FE then show this, FD then show this. That was just annoying. I'll come up with a better way to do it another time, but I just wanted it for visual representation and for testing, and it works fine. So yeah, then I did some combat tests. I thought, right, let's make a sprite. And a sprite can just be the weakest possible being. It's got F in attack, F in defense, F in HP. And let's see how every creature that I've created performs against a sprite. And so that's exactly what I did. And I figured out how many turns to kill each one would take, how much threat everything would generate. Threat is an interesting little thing that I came across. Where is my note for threat? I've got a note here for threat somewhere. So what threat basically is you look at the total number of turns it would take the sprite in this case to kill the character in question, and then you multiply that by the amount of damage that the creature would be able to do to the sprite in that time frame. I've done that both for the actual number of turns to kill as a decimal. So if you do like 5 damage and the opponent's got 12 HP, it'll take 3 turns to kill. And then also for the rounded number of turns to kill. So 12 divided by 5 is like 2 point something, but rounds up to 3, for example. Kuro heading to bed? No problem. You rest well, Kuro. Thank you for dropping by. Good to see you. Thank you for listening to me chunter about maths for hours. This has been great. But yeah, you take it easy, Kuro. Rest well. Be good to yourself. So yeah, I did it for the rounded values as well, and believe it or not, those are slightly different. Calculating how much overkill is done as well, which I thought was kind of interesting. So yeah, that tells me what level of threat every creature is. And it also tells me an opportunity as well. Opportunity is basically how much damage will be done divided by how many turns it'll take to kill. So that basically says, okay, if there's a low opportunity here, it means that the amount of damage being done, or rather the amount of turns it takes to kill something, is relatively high compared to how much damage is being done. But if there's something with a very high opportunity, something like 15.58 or 558, that says that this is doing quite a high amount of damage, but it takes relatively few hits to kill it. So you might want to target such an enemy. So this is me just thinking about how to program the artificial opponents in the game as well. You know, how does the AI determine which of your characters is a threat when they're fighting? Focus fire logic, exactly, Sid. So yeah, I did that both for the sprite attacking every creature, and then for every creature attacking the sprite, which has been very interesting actually. I've learned quite a bit for it. I've also done a similar calculation for every level, assuming that we were going for a sprite attacking at, I think it was just like, I don't remember actually. Was it like every level of sprite attacking and then also every level of a creature attack? I don't remember. I think it was every level of a creature attacking, assuming that they only had an F in each stat. And just showing like an idea of how that changes over time as well. So yeah, generally just a very, very informative time has been had, to be honest. Lots of maths being done, which believe you me, I enjoy. Believe you me, I enjoy doing all this maths. I do it because others don't. Dear. I just do it because it's fun for me. Anyway, so this is what I'm currently thinking the state of the game is going to be at this point. A lot of playtesting needs to be done to be able to figure out the intricate details of this system. A lot of work needs to be done to figure out that, the way that things actually interact, the way that game balance is going to work. What's not to love about spreadsheets? I know. We also need to think about how the keywords are going to come back into things, how the abilities are going to affect things. Also need to think about the exact format that these games are going to take I think I've got the notes down here. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm thinking, regards to the issue of overkill, we can bring back the trample effect, so any excess damage gets like brought over to the next enemy. Although I don't know exactly how that would work with the current calculation, but yeah, being able to target multiple enemies with an attack is interesting. The possibility of having both an attacker and a defender hit each other at the same time. And then I started thinking, could this potentially be an auto battle combat game? I don't know. When it comes to healing as well, or like restoring health for the amount of damage that you deal, now I can appreciate why Pokemon does it at 50%. Actually, yeah, lifelink for 50% damage dealt is not too bad, actually. And then also thinking about party positions, coming back to thinking about initiative values as well. Like thinking about bringing that back in, but that's again another balance thing. Or a way to balance speed ties. Death Touch has an interesting effect. Like, it's a very interesting effect in Magic the Gathering. It just means, well, in Magic, any creature that is damaged by something with Death Touch dies immediately. And I've been thinking, like, that could be something that only goes on a weak enemy that has to be planned around. Because basically, weak enemies would die immediately if they had Death Touch, regardless of what they attacked. It would destroy their bigger threats, but it means you're losing out on a lot of potential synergy. Healing lets the fight drag out, which means players have to play longer, which means they'll spend more, potentially, yes. Potential for status effects being opened up now, so I could have like poison, burn, paralysis, stuff like that. And then I still need to think about resource systems for abilities. Like, do you start with no energy and then you need to like build up energy to do your special attack? Or if there's characters with haste, for example, they would come in with their bar completely full so they can use their ability immediately. I don't know. There's some options here. There's a lot of options here. But yeah, this has been very interesting. A lot has been learned from this. Let's pop back over to Tabletop Simulator now, because I have actually done a little simulation of these also. I've got my common pool characters. Is this the deck or... Right, here we go. Here's the collection 2.0, which honestly isn't very different from the last one. What's going on here? Yeah, it's not too different from the last one. Again, I haven't done anything to do with all the equipment. The equipment is all exactly as it was. But now we've just set it so that we say what level it is, what their attack value is, their defense value, and their HP. And I'm just going to leave things at level 1 here. I don't want to do much more testing beyond level 1 because, yeah, I'm balancing the game, or my intention is to balance the game so that it's always assumed that you're going to be playing someone with their characters at the same level as yours. Like, that is just pretty much a given when it comes to RPGs. If your level is significantly lower than an opponent, then you're basically fighting in the wrong area, kind of thing. So the expectation is people will be fighting around the same level. That's what this game's going to be balanced for. Plus the fact that all of the stat levels are like the rankings from F to S tier. Those rankings are just a multiplicative difference with each other. So if I can balance things for level 1, then that means things will be more or less balanced for level 20 as well. So basically no difference. It's just a keeping up with the Joneses mechanic. So yeah, if I balance things for level 1, then I don't have to worry about balancing things for higher levels. Lovely. So yeah, I've got this. I've got it all laid out. I have also made the common pool right here. And I made these significantly smaller. They only have 65 entries in them because, yeah, I just have all of the characters themselves rather than the equipment. And we can still simulate a draw. So for this, I would say probably just roll like 7. Over here, we've got, let's see, 2 rain sprites, serpent collar, spear user, green elf, priest of the flame, sentient armor. And then if we go to this one, we would get spear user, sage, tin soldier, beastfolk hunter, charging beastfolk, novice mage, novice stormcaller. And I've done some simulations with these guys as well, actually. Making, making little combat scenarios where it's just a couple of these. I think I've got one. Oh, it's gone out of my autosaves, isn't it? Shoot. That's annoying. I'd hope to refer back to that later. But yeah, I have done little combats where it's just been teams of 3, teams of 5. I think it's a team of 5 that I've kind of settled on just now, going up against each other. And doing that, did you consider a logarithmic progression? I did not, actually. The major issue with that is the increase in stats for a lower level creature, like going back to here. If the level ups was logarithmic, then it would have to start from a base level, and then it would just get, I mean, literally exponentially higher, which would be all right, maybe? I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. Linear is a lot simpler to do. You would get some nice bumps early. That's true. That is true, but like as it is, like looking at the combat tests, you do get some big bumps already. So just going up against the sprite, you start off doing like 5 hits to kill. When you get to level 5, it goes to 6 hits to kill, 7 hits to kill, 8, 9. Yeah, would control high levels getting me like crazy. Yeah, exactly. Like, if a level difference makes a humongous difference. Like, suddenly a level, like, I've designed this, or like my intention has been that even the lowest level would still be able to do some kind of damage to the highest level. And if it was a exponential growth or logarithmic growth, then yeah, a single level would just rapidly disappear. So, and also, you know, I want to keep the maths relatively simple. And like this, it's a lot easier to balance as well. So yeah, I don't think a logarithmic is right for this particular game. Other games potentially, it might be something that I'll consider, like play around with a little bit. But I think linear is a little bit easier to play with for now. We'll have more mathematical fun in future, though. I'm sure there is still actually a lot of interesting relationships though that can be explored as things currently are. But yeah, so I've done a couple of simulations, I've started thinking about simulations, placing what seem to be the best cards from a roll, so probably you. The Serpent Collar is the best blue card, so we would want you. Novice Spear User, Green Earth are garbage. We'd probably want the Sentient Armor because it's got humongous defense of 50. It's basically the same level as the Serpent Collar, it's just got lower HP. And Rain Sprite is not too bad either. So yeah, these would be the cards, well, some of the cards there. They have to use one other card. Literally doesn't matter which one they use, and I'm saying you can't use duplicates. So Spear User, I suppose, would have to be the Spear User. We have done a couple of simulated fights between 5-man teams as well, or I've considered what I would do. And I've started thinking as well, the major problem with that then becomes, the priority becomes ganging up on a single enemy until they die. Which is not necessarily bad, it's not like the most interesting kind of combat, but it started giving me some ideas. It started giving me ideas about the format that I want these fights to take place on. So do I want them to be like Napoleonic battles where they stand directly opposite each other? Do I want them to be able to, like, attack only people who are opposite or diagonal to them? Do I want them to be all lined up, like in Princess Connect? And then they have, like, certain attacks that attack certain positions? Do I want them to be, like, lined up directly opposite each other, and then they have to fight each other kind of more like Pokemon? I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet. But now these gameplay options are open to us. We can actually consider this. We can see what seems like it would make a fun game. And, well, we've got enough tools now to be able to simulate, at the very least, this. So I think right now, what my current job is going to be settling on one or more types of combat system. So I've got the stat system more or less down. I think I'm content with the way that the stat system works between attack, defense, and HP right now. I may, like, expand it out so that there's also, like, special attack, special defense, or like magic attack, magic defense. I might look at doing that as well. That might be how I interact with the elemental system. That might be another way of, like, diversifying the number of cards or, like, characters I can have. Might open up some more game mechanics, but it will still basically function on the same system. It'll still be working on the F through S rank system and the 1 through 20 level system. That's just a given. Because I'm fairly content with that. I'll maybe adjust it slightly, but I think I've got a good foundation for a stat system, and that's always where I've seemed to struggle with these games in the past. So yeah, maybe we'll look at adding some more stats. Maybe we'll bring back initiative. Maybe we'll add in special attack and defense. But really the big question now is, how exactly do I want the fights to go down? Tactical is what I was thinking to begin with. But then it does just become a game of everybody gangs up on the same opponent. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tricky thing coming up with mechanics so that it doesn't just become, yeah, all 5 of my guys with higher initiative just attack you this, your strongest guy, and now they're dead. Because I don't kind of want that. That doesn't seem like it's necessarily the most fun thing. That just becomes a matter of, yeah, I like pick what the best target is and then take them out in this order, kind of thing. That means you introduce characters with abilities that prevent that somehow. Yes, exactly. So yeah, now comes the hard part of, like, doing more testing and balancing. But I think I've got a good foundation now. Your CC then controls the tactics. Yes. So yeah, now I've got these options. I've got these things to play around with and to test. It'll be a little while yet, I think, before I'm at the stage where I want to like program them into the game. But I'm in a good spot, I think. I think this is a really good and useful position to be in. I've got a lot of... I've not been showing what I've been doing here, have I? No, I don't think I've been showing this. Well done, Malcolm. Genius. So now I just get to figure out exactly how I want them to be laid out. Which is pretty good, actually. I think the reason why I was hyping this up so much is because, I say hyping this up. I was doing my best to not overly hype, but I wanted to share the journey that I've been on in the last 5 days or so. I wanted to share all the things that I have learned and encountered, and the ways that I want to, the way that I want this game to develop in. So that's been very fun. It has been very fun, very interesting. I'm still quite passionate about this as well. I've been spending a good bit of time between streams and when I've just been chilling out thinking about this. But yeah, we'll see where things go from here. So yeah, still going to be a little bit before we've got something playable. But you know what? We've got something to begin with right now. I've gotten very excited. Yeah, I'm very excited. It's more just because it's fun. Like, I've forced myself to actually make something like this, which has been a bit of a stumbling block for me with my my game design dreams for a while. So being able to actually have something that's playable and seems at least a little bit potentially interesting is it's a good step, I think. Although I do have to say I have very slightly gone off track from my my original intentions with this project. But you know, that's a given. I've already done a lot of the programming that is necessary to make this work as a multiplayer, just as a server-based game already. So of course I'm just going to get bogged down in the weeds of actually the game mechanics itself. And yeah, I have seen you in tabletop a lot. Yeah, I've usually just got it sitting on in the background while I've been working on stuff, to be honest. Like, it's been nice to just have to look at and think about. I like having the tools, and you know, it saves me getting a lot of printer paper or scribbling out a lot on paper. But yeah, it's been very useful. It's been a very useful tool, has Tabletop Simulator. Not the easiest. These cards are a nightmare. I can lock the cards. I can lock the text, which means I can move them around. But yeah, that doesn't preserve between saving and loading, or between like loading the objects for some reason. I've had a look at the code. I don't see why. I don't know Lua. But yeah, for some reason it doesn't save the fact that I've locked the text between loading and saving them. But it's fine. I can still like click and drag on the corners. It's just slightly less convenient. And it will be less convenient for playtesting too. But yeah, a lot has been learned, a lot has been achieved. It's been fun and interesting. But yeah, at some point I am going to have to think about implementing some of these features in the game's code now. So on one hand, I want to think about the game design aspect. I am trying to rope some of the AG members into giving some impressions and thoughts on them. I'm more than happy to discuss this with anyone who's interested to. I mean, of course I am. I want to talk about something that I've made. So yeah, if you've got thoughts or suggestions, or if you've got a particular idea for how the combat system should go, or if you've got a suggestion for any games I could use as reference, then definitely send them my way. I would be curious to hear those suggestions. But I've got a good foundation to be starting from, I think. I think there's enough here already to make for an interesting, at the very least, optimization game. But I want there to be more mechanics in place. And I'm going to keep thinking about that. I'm going to think about coming back to the elemental system, the difference between every element, the ways that they interact, and the ways that the games themselves go down. For status type mechanics, I like Guild Wars 2 or Pathfinder 2. I will have a little look-see at those. Perhaps. But yes, I don't think we're in a bad space. I don't think we're in a bad space at all. So yeah, the trick's going to be making the decisions as to what makes for an interesting system, and then actually implementing it in game code, so that it can actually be tested in engine, rather than just as, you know, these cards. Although these cards are very good for making discoveries in the meanwhile. But yeah, lots has been learned. Lots has been learned. The statuses are globally defined rather than detailed per character to prevent runaway abilities. Ah, that's interesting. So that's kind of interesting. I think I will have a little look at that actually. But yes, anyway, this has been very good. Thank you for listening to me chunter on about all of this. I have a lot of progress to do. There's a lot more I have to do, of course, but we've got the foundations of a good system here. So yeah, hopefully you found this interesting, whether you've been here from the start, you came along partway through, or if you've had to drop out. This has been a bit of a shorter stream today. Best reason to wake up at 6 AM. Thank you, Sid. I appreciate it. I do. But yeah, so yeah, expect another update from this probably next week as well. I'm not doing much else at the moment. Oh! Dear, what timing. Hello, Chibi. Hello, King Sunny Fueo. Good to see you, Chibi. How's it going? How's it going? Thank you for the raid. Hopefully you're doing well. Yeah, you've arrived at a very interesting time, folks. Let's see. You're playing the Somnium Files. Oh, good stuff. Hopefully you've been enjoying. No doubt you have. But yes, yeah. For those who may be unfamiliar with me, I am Malcolm Bell, mad scientist of Amberglow, and yeah. Speaking of madness, yeah, I've just finished actually my presentation. I have finished my presentation of Cytheria. Thank you for the subscription. Thank you so much. Appreciated. I was not anticipating that. Thank you so much. But yes, today we've actually just finished with me going through all the mechanics of my my gacha game that I've been working on. I've been covering a lot. We've done a lot. Let's have a quick run through it. I have came up with multiple different versions of a stat system for my gacha game. And we've even done a bunch of combat simulations as well. I've also implemented a couple of different versions of a test version of the system in Tabletop Simulator, just to get a bit of a feel for it, and we've learned a lot from it. Chibi, did you find out how old the girl is yet? What, the girl in the Somnium Files? I should hope she's 18. Confirmed by her mum. Oh dear. Oh dear. Anyway, Mal's been very busy. Yeah, this is what I've been doing between streams this week. Between streams and visiting friends and family. It's basically been this. I've not had much else to do. But yeah, no, it's been really fun. It's been really fun and interesting. So yeah, we've got a new stat system in place. I'm moving towards a 5-member party system, and currently thinking about different combat systems as well for gacha games. But yeah, anyway, for those who were here pre-raid, yeah, the reason I've gone through every single stage of my thinking here is just because I want to share, yeah, the process and the thought process that's gone into this, the points of inspiration, the learning moments that there have been, going from something very, very based on Magic the Gathering to finding the issues with that system being ported over to a more like tactical team-based system. So yeah, I don't know exactly where things are going to go from here. Playtesting will be necessary. A couple of different combat systems will need to be tested, but yeah, we've got something interesting going on here, and I'll be very interested to see where we go from now. But yeah, I think I will have to wrap up the stream here. Yeah, I've got something scheduled. Yeah, I know, Chibi, you raided right as I was ending. I'm sorry to say. But yeah, we've been able to simulate a bunch of gacha rolls. I've been able to simulate a lot of stuff, which has been fun. So I think maybe I'll look at simulating more gacha rolls in engine with what I've got. Maybe, yeah, I think I need to bounce ideas more, I think. But yeah. I'm gonna do some more thinking on this. If you've been interested at all in the gacha game and its progress, definitely do drop a follow if you haven't been already. I would expect next weekend I will probably have another stream similar to this, talking about my developments since last time. Since today, because yeah, knowing me, I'm just gonna immediately start working on this for the rest of the day. We've got some stuff going on this evening, but yeah, I'll probably continue working on this evening, and yeah, there'll probably be more updates for next week, probably even with more coding. Maybe I'll even have some coding done rather than some just pure game design stuff. We'll see. But yeah, a lot of game design thoughts going in this week. Lots of it. So I'm hoping to get goals for this week. Big goals for this week is going to be figure out the combat system, maybe look at doing some reworking of the equipment system, or maybe finding some other mechanics that I can include in the game or to come from the gacha, and also implementing some more stuff in code. That's my plan for this week, I think. We'll see whether that plan actually survives contact with the enemy. But yes, anyway, with that all having been said, that will do it for me today. Massive thank you again, everyone, for those who have been here from the start, and for people who have came along partway through, and to Chibi and all the raiders for coming along. I do appreciate it. I genuinely do. Special thanks as well to Araxis and Cytheria for the continued subscriptions, and to Chibi for the raid. So appreciated. Thank you so much. But yeah, with that all having been said, I have been Malcolm Bell. This has been Patch Notes, the progress update on the Gacha game. Look forward to more of it in future. And yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow for probably Starfield, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, take it easy, everyone. Be very good to yourselves, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye-bye-bye. Bye-bye. Probably mistaken based on averages. This is probably true. Yes, no, my schedules the last 2 weeks have not been the most stable. Right, who do we have to raid? Do we have anyone to raid? Who can we drop a little raid in? Oh, there's a face we've not seen for a while. You know what? Let's drop a raid on Carnelia. She's probably going to be wrapping up fairly soon herself. She's playing some Cuphead with a friend. But yeah, she'll probably be wrapping up fairly soon herself, if I'm not mistaken. Collab tomorrow. Oh, it is the collab tomorrow! God damn it. It is Backrooms tomorrow. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, well done, Mal. Genius. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll enjoy the collab. Right, I'm off ski. I want to get some grub. Sushi's not enough for me. And yeah, be good to yourselves, folks. Matane.